Greetings, my excellent friend.
Welcome to Heavy Metal
History.
Recording in 3, 2, and 1. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the new episode of the Heavy Metal History Podcast. Unfortunately, this week, Matt could not join us. He is out trying to find some fuel for Bartertown. So it's just going to be me and our guest this week. He's going to fucking kill me for that, probably.
He's bloody all right. Oh, sorry, I was in the wrong place.
No, you're good, man. So yeah, I've been hyping it up a little bit. Our guest this week is a man that I've haven't seen in quite a while, Mr. Derek Kerswill. He's been in a plethora of bands. I will let him introduce himself, so give it up for Derek.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Here's my silky smooth old man voice. I'm Derek Kerswill, formerly of blah, and formerly of blah, and formerly of blah. No, hi, buddy. Good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you coming on. It was fucking cool to, you're our first guest. I mean, that's pretty much...
Wow, dude, that's awesome. Thank you.
I mean,
and by the way...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to tell you something funny, and that's that, talking about the fact that I'm old,
yeah.
I apparently am a quote-unquote legacy musician now.
Huh.
This is what the word on the street, which means old.
Legacy means old. All right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I take it as a compliment due to the fact that I guess it means I'm still relevant. I don't know.
I guess I'll put that in the description. Legacy musician, Derek Kerswill.
Legacy musician, Derek Kerswill. But no, for anyone that might not know me, which I'm assuming will happen, because the kids,
you never know, man. So it's good to kind of let people know.
I have played in a multitude of bands, and my heyday was 2001 to 2011. So I started off with Shadows Fall in 2001. I wrote The Art of Balance with them. Never joined the band because I was working a corporate job and wanted to take care of things at home. And then I got laid off, and my band Seemless got signed. Yeah. And Seemless was sort of a rock and roll underground supergroup that a lot of people seem to know these days more than when we were together.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens, right?
It's crazy. We broke up upon my entrance into the metalcore band from Massachusetts, Unearth. And then I had a pretty good tenure with Unearth and wrote an album I'm very proud of, The March, with them.
Yeah.
That took me through Kingdom of Sorrow. My God, I did a lot, huh?
Yeah, there you go, man. See?
Kingdom of Sorrow, and then I ended with a European tour, and I almost joined the Ghost Inside, but they were so busy and things were just... I was really questioning a lot of things in terms of my livelihood and my position on the road and enjoying it anymore.
Yeah.
So I bailed out then. And I went on what I refer to as an indefinite hiatus, and that leads me to today. I do have a band called Downpour.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember you telling me about them.
Yeah. We've had a record almost done, for a couple years now, bro.
Nice.
And I would be more than happy to send what's complete over to you, which would be about 6 songs.
Dude, that would be awesome.
But what happened was, that's myself, Brian Fair from Shadows Fall and Overcast is in. He sings for us. I think this is the greatest work he's ever done in his life.
Okay.
I think it's the greatest work I've ever done in my life, in terms of metal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt LeBreton, who's one of my best friends and my co-writer, we've been working together for years. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Holy shit. Wow, we've been writing together for 5 years. And this dude from... he's actually a local guy that we ended up hand-plucking, straight-up bass player. Not some dude that used to be a guitar player that wanted to be in a band, so he plays bass. This is a bass player. And his name's Pete, and he's from a band called Birch Hill Dam here in Massachusetts. And they're like a stoner rock band, but my band Downpour is kind of like Gojira meets Pantera and any other band that ends with A that has power groove,
Okay, nice.
It's semi progressive, but still like kind of easy on the palate progressive,
Yeah.
Groove progressive. Wow, that's something new. Power groove progressive.
Did you just invent another genre, a subgenre?
Well, I was trying to fuse metal in it somewhat. So like metal power group progressive. Metal power group progressive. Yeah, there we go.
Metal power group progressive.
So yeah, man. Wow, I just gave you 10 minutes of my history.
Hey, that's cool, man. People
Talking about the
know.
history of metal.
Yeah.
I am the history of metal.
No, I mean that's kind of the point of this too. Is when we have guests on to kind of see where their influences come from, that like make metal kind of evolve into whatever it ends up being or was or is.
You know what I realized though is that eventually you're gonna have a guest on, and hopefully, I will come up in their history of metal. That would be pretty awesome, man.
That would be cool. I bet it'll happen. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get...
One of them's got to come up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to brag, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Oh, Derek Big Deal Kerswill.
Wait, you just called me the keyboard company. It's Kerswill.
Kerswill.
It's a soft I.
Soft I. Okay, my bad.
It's okay, man.
Oh, man. So, yeah, it's fucking cool having you on, man. I'm pretty stoked.
Cool being on, and I'm glad I can say fucking, too, because that's fucking awesome.
Say whatever you want.
It's nice, man. How's this been going for you, by the way?
Not bad. I don't know what happened, like, our first few episodes, we're getting, like, 50 downloads, and then I just decided to actually actively use our Instagram, and it jumped up to, like, 250 downloads.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, so it's been growing, which is nice.
I'm going to get us about 253.
That'd be cool. I'll take 3
extra.
More. Oh, extra. All right. That'd be great. Yeah, no, I mean, it's slowly growing. This is, you're going to be like our 5th episode, so I'd say that's pretty good for 5 episodes. I don't know if it's going to stay consistent like that or not. I'm trying to do whatever I can to kind of, shill it out there.
Well, the good news is my Facebook fan page hasn't had much action in a while, so, whatever people get reached with this will definitely help,
Yeah, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I'll send you the links when it's done.
Yeah.
But, dude, I'm pretty stoked to talk about a bunch of these albums, mostly because where we're at right now, the early 80s are kind of a bit of a slog. Nothing really interesting coming out besides, like, a couple Aussie albums, so... Basically,
which were awesome, by the way.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. Those albums rule, but, everything else is just kind of like, I've never heard of this band kind of stuff. So it's nice to let you, like, pick what you want to talk about and jump ahead a little bit, because it's a lot more interesting records that I definitely want to talk about. So,
well, and I appreciate that, too, because, like, when you approached me about this, unfortunately, and I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
I hit metal a little late because I was not into... Okay, how do I explain this? Okay, I was not into hair metal, as in I never played in a hair metal band.
Uh-huh.
But in high school, my freshman, sophomore year, I was listening to hair metal before I discovered Anthrax.
Yes.
So would that be a good segue into...
No, that's perfect.
All right.
Yeah, so that's the first album we're going to talk about. Are we going to talk about the EP or Among the Living?
I found them via I'm the Man, and I found metal via Anthrax, and the EP I'm the Man. And I remember it as clear as day. I remember the moment I heard it, and my mind was blown. And I think the fact that I was starting to get into hip-hop a little bit, too, with Public Enemy. I was always a big Run DMC fan. And I see pictures of this metal band with Public Enemy shorts. I was so confused and I was intrigued all at once. Yeah. So when I heard I'm the Man, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So that's how this all happened to come together. I was exiting that idea. I mean, I was getting tired of the same cookie cutter. I guess what maybe you guys, the same thing that happened to a lot of guys with new metal, happened to my friends and I back in the mid to late 80s with hair metal.
Yeah.
I do go back and listen to that stuff occasionally just from a nostalgia perspective.
Yeah.
And, there's a place and time for all that stuff. And we all know there's Run DMC and Public Enemy and Tribe Called Quest. And, like, when I got into metal and hip-hop all at once, but the true stuff where it still feels good today. Like that stuff is all real music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, entirely. And it's, I don't personally remember I'm the Man until I listened to it recently, and I was like, holy fuck, dude, like this was way ahead of its time, like that fusion of those two styles.
Exactly.
And you see so many bands trying to rip that off nowadays.
Oh my God, it's crazy to understand. Okay, so what I'd like to first do is just tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
I had a really awful childhood, and I don't need any sympathy, and I'm not telling you for any reason, with the exception of the fact that metal really saved my life.
Yeah.
And I'm the Man, although silly, you know. The rest of that EP with the live stuff is what really got me like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, first I was getting into hip hop and that was the entrance, but I had a friend, okay? So I had to work full time in high school because my parents were losers, right?
Okay.
And I worked at a grocery store in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, the dirtiest of burgs. And I met one of the probably greatest influences in terms of, getting me into metal, and that was my friend Kevin Robertson. He went by the nickname Scrod, like the fish.
Okay.
So not only, this guy blew my mind a couple times in life. Well, first of all, he was like he started giving me mixtapes of like Violent Femmes, Dead Kennedys, the kind of like super punked up punk rock that I just didn't really appreciate.
Yeah.
And then he hit me up with a mixtape, and I'm the Man was on it. And my mind was blown. So that was the first time he blew my mind. But you want to know something else? Off of the completely off topic? He's the dude that made me realize that every one of us dudes in life jerks off. I had no idea. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was broken. And he was a little bit older than me. And one day he was like, dude, he said something about jerking off. And I was like, you do that? He's like, are you fucking serious, bro? Like, we all do. Like, get over yourself. And I was like, oh my God, I'm okay. Like, I thought there's something wrong with me, dude.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So this guy blew my mind multiple times in life, but that was one of the first times. But when he introduced me, he would make me mixtapes. And man, he was the first dude, by the way, that had the Sub Pop singles collection. And he was like, hey, you ever hear this band Smashing Pumpkins? I was like, nobody's ever going to get into a band called Smashing Pumpkins. He was ahead of his time, man.
Damn, dude. This is, this is why I wanted to have you on the podcast. When you were on my last one, you were probably one of my favorite guests to have on because your stories are so good. Oh,
Thanks,
man.
bro.
No, of course.
That means a lot. I was an English guy growing up, and I studied English, and I think I have a way of describing things and presenting stories and such that you almost visualize things. Yeah. It's always been a strength of mine, whether it be writing or telling. But I really appreciate that, man, because that's something that I really... okay, so here's a funny side note. I teach driver's ed full-time now. I think you probably know that.
Yeah.
And the kids just... I work in a very affluent area, so I don't run into fans very often, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah.
But they all know I was in a real band. They all know I was a legit rock star, quote-unquote. And it comes up, but they love talking about travel more than anything.
Nice.
But
yeah, I can imagine why.
And they love my stories, so I've honed in on them even better these days.
Oh, that's great.
So Scrod and I worked together. He was a little older than me. He would give me mixtapes, and he was really trying to get me into the Dead Kennedys hard, man. And I just didn't get it. I was coming out of hair metal, looking for something new, junior in high school, and still confused,
Yeah, but, I like to say that punk is kind of like the adopted stepbrother of the family. Like, you don't want to claim it, but it goes hand in hand with metal in some way.
And I will say, to now, these days, I hear some Dead Kennedys and, Nazi punks fuck off or, pull my strings. And there's stuff that was, like, really heavy and monumental for its time. But being a metal guy in that kind of punk okay, I know exactly what it is. We're into metal because there's a lot more structure.
Yeah.
Punk, people were looking to get into strictly because there wasn't any structure.
Yeah.
I really
No, I
believe
totally
that.
agree.
Like that raw element is what made it so appealing to people. Where metal, well, we were musicians. I mean, I'm a musician, so I wanted like better musicians in my music.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was this element of fun that Anthrax had, but there was this element of seriousness, and there was a dark element that I found when I heard them do Sabbath Bloody Sabbath,
Oh yeah,
which is brutal on that EP, dude.
that's a very, very good cover. And I mean, considering our first couple episodes were all about Black Sabbath, I feel
Okay.
stupid because we didn't mention this cover. We mentioned like a couple other ones, but we kind of skipped right over this one, and I was like, "Fuck, man!" I
Well, it
should
gives
have
us
mentioned it.
something to bring up, though.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean,
So,
it
I mean,
is-
Sabbath were the forefathers. We all know it.
Yeah,
One of them. But it all came down. It really, I owe everything to Scrod, his mixtapes, and his desire to get me out of hair metal and into something that had substance. And Anthrax was where my entrance to metal began, and it began with I'm the Man. So I heard I'm the Man, became obsessed with it for that summer. But the same year, Among the Living came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to Among the Living. We could kind of talk about them hand in hand, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. It was the same year. I know it was 87 for sure.
Yeah, actually, if this makes you feel any more of a legacy, I was born approximately 3 days before this album came out.
Oh my God. And I was in high school. I hate you. All right, take it easy, bro. Good talking.
All right.
What's that Skype noise?
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, man, I'm going to be 30 years old next month.
Yeah, I'm going to be 44 in next month.
Shit.
So suck it.
14, so yeah, damn.
Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, my body feels 44, but my brain feels 13.
I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, I just feel like a jackass all the time, and I act like a freaking child, and my wife has to keep me in line. But hey, we're doing all right 20 years later,
Yeah.
so I can't complain. I think she just goes, how do you get older yet your brain gets younger? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's going to be 40 next week, bro.
Dang.
Yeah, she's not feeling too hot about that. Apparently she tells me she's going to embrace it, but I don't know. I think she's just talking smack. But 30,
man.
dude, you're getting up there.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Oh, yeah, so one thing about I'm the Man that I really like that I know Anthrax does from time to time, but I really like Scott Ian's vocals when he, like, does those, like, harsh kind of, like, hardcore, like, growls or whatever you want to call them in that song.
yeah, he was the more, like, because this is my take on it. They were, like, they loved Public Enemy,
Yeah.
but they were from the Bronx, so they had to emulate the Beastie Boys more than anything. So they were kind of taking that role of, all right, we're each going to have our own voice. There'll be someone smooth, someone silly, and then someone harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like the MCA of, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Adam Yauch. Ad
Yeah.
Rock.
Yep.
So he was like the Ad Rock of Anthrax, and it was a cool juxtaposition when they
Yeah.
took, because no one had taken metal and fused it with hip hop the way that they did, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Never mind what they did with Public Enemy later, but we don't even need to get into that because we'll just get off topic.
That's true.
And I want to
yeah.
stay the course.
We'll
But-
get to that for sure.
Yeah, but this was something coming from wanting to get out of hair metal and into something with more substance. And you know the sad thing about hair metal, man, on a side note, it was crazy. There were just so many good musicians within that realm.
Oh yeah, man.
They were just playing silly songs, and it wasn't really their fault, man.
Yeah, a lot of those guys could play the fuck out of a guitar. Like,
Dude, Winger,
no joke. Yeah.
the band, if you look at where they all came from, like, something I was thinking about the other day, though, dude, is a little disturbing.
What's that?
Okay, they wrote a song called 17, and I'm driving around 17-year-olds all day. Well, they're driving me around. I'm just trying to stay alive. But sometimes I look over at these girls and I'm thinking to myself, what a dirty old man. Not me. Tip
No,
Winger.
the
Like,
the
it's
guy
just
from Winger.
gross. These are still girls. They're children, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I get the occasional, 16, 17-year-old going on 30. Don't get me wrong. And you're just like, what? But
Yeah.
for the most part, 99% of them are they're children, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you
And
gotta
to think,
wonder what was like the intent behind all that.
it's weird.
It is weird.
So I was starting to catch on. That I was like, wait, these guys can really play, but man, this is ridiculously like juvenile and elementary at best.
Yeah.
And I wanted something with more substance. And dude, I was in a really tough situation, quite honestly, and I was like struggling in the face of some serious adversity, and this stuff pulled me out of it, man.
Yeah.
And to this day, I think these records still hold a huge place near and dear to my heart. Never mind, some of these guys that are going to come up today are seriously great friends of mine now.
Oh, nice.
And
dude.
that blows my mind.
I remember you actually telling me last time you did the podcast that you were doing like this little side project with somebody from one of the bands we're going to talk about.
Yes, and it never fully came to fruition, but we are still very close, and he's one of the best friends I made on the road. And we'll talk about that when we get there. Yeah. So I'm the man, definitely spawned the metal like obsession, and I'll tell you one thing you made me realize, man, and I thank you for it. Here I am, 44 years old, and these records are still as important today as they were then. And I still listen to them regularly. They still hold up. They're still amazing. And there's something so special about them, maybe even more so today, because it's the true nostalgia. It was the nostalgia that got me through life nostalgia. Like, there's those days you want to feel happy and young and, back in the day when I was doing my paper route, listening to Tears for Fears or whatever, and that's one thing. But this was a whole nother ball game, dude. This was, change your life for the rest of your life. And then to think what I did with my own life because of it, 43 countries, all 50 states later, Billboard, 20 records deep, and most of it was within this realm of music.
Yeah, man.
I can't help but look back and be so incredibly thankful. And really, I gotta get handed to Scrod, because I don't know who would have. I was thinking about this a lot in the last few days. Like, who else came into my life? My friend Justin, who introduced me like Death Angel. He was working at a record store that was huge around this area called Strawberries back in the day.
Okay.
And I met him because I went to go buy some metal records. He was like, dude, you like this stuff? I was like, hey, I'm actually in a metal band, And he's like, oh, let me come check you guys out in the basement. And I'm like, yeah, bring you an 89 Subaru. Let's do it, yeah. And he was the best man at my wedding, and he's still one of my best friends to this day. I think another thing I was going to tell you is, ironically enough, metal spawned the greatest friendships of my life that I still have to today.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of what you're saying, like, I relate, just in, like, as far as, like, the touring stuff on a different side of it, but, I mean, dude, I grew up in a small-ass town, in the middle of the South, never thinking that I would, like, meet you or any of these bands that I listened to in high school, and now it's just, like, the genre, as much as people want to deify it, or no, that's the wrong word, look down on it, it really does bring people together, man.
No, there's a huge brethren. I think these days it's not as like pure as it was back when I was growing up, and I'm thankful that I was part of that.
Yeah.
Like, there was metal, and that was it, dude. There wasn't fucking all these subgenres of metal and all this fucking technical metal where you go there and shoegaze and fucking... Dude, we got together, we partied. I had a 1982 Ford Granada station wagon, and all my friends chipped in, because I was the only one with a car, and they all chipped in for my ticket to Anthrax and Public Enemy at the Orpheum in Boston. So I would bring them. And it was a camaraderie. It was a brethren. And dude, to this day, it's still some of my best friends I have in my life.
That's cool, man.
I get a little emotional thinking about it, because then I think about the amount of fans and friends I made on the road through all those years.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known you.
Yeah,
you know?
no, exactly. That's
And,
how I think about it too, man.
And although we don't talk often, we certainly keep in touch.
Yeah.
Or I at least like knowing how you're doing, and I watch what you do because I care about it. There's this group of guys, I'd say, that rolls a good, oh man, I want to say, and I think you'd probably agree, good 100 deep.
Yeah.
No, I want to say 50. But you're definitely in the top 20 that I met on the road that I just connected with.
Yeah, it's pretty, I mean, for me, it was pretty rare that happened, but the people that
Likewise.
Yeah, the people that I do stay in touch with, it's definitely like on this kind of level. It's like, dude, I miss you. What the fuck have you been up to? Like,
yeah, but no guilt is associated with anything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't call me. Those people can go suck it, man.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. I'm just way too old for that shit. Like, I'm just still trying to write music and enjoy music and do my job and affect the kids in some way, you know. I'm just doing it on a different level these days, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what matters, I think.
Yeah.
Being an influence in some positive way somewhere.
Yeah, and I've been very lucky because it's hard for me, honestly, like to think about Anthrax. Well, so one of my great friends, Johnny Rock and Roll, Jonathan Deney, is the guitar player of Anthrax now.
Yeah.
I played in Shadows Fall with him. I played in a side project we had started called Dead of Night with him. I consider him a great friend, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted me in Shadows Fall so bad, and I just totally shut them down because I just wasn't ready to tour, you know. But him and I connected on a pretty deep level in terms of musicianship. He loved that groove element that I brought to the table that a lot of guys didn't really have too often in the metal world.
Yeah.
That was where I lucked out, bro. Like, I was a rock and roll guy that could play double bass, and I never claimed to be the best at it, but I think that groove element that I brought to the table and what you'll find kind of inherent in my influences is what brought me through all those years with so many different projects, because I just kind of, as much as I'd love to talk about Pantera right now, it's not the time for you.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get there, obviously.
Yeah, no, we will.
But,
dude, we can always have you on again and talk about more shit. Like,
yeah, I'm down with that, because that band is the band that truly changed my metal life. But no. Creatively, they did.
Yeah.
This still, the ones I gave you are what started it all. So I have to hold true to that.
Yeah. No,
so
we definitely.
I'm the man we don't have to spend much time with. It's just the entrance Among the Living is the record.
There's a lot of cool shit on this record. Like,
so I have a question for you. Like, so are you an Anthrax fan?
Not the newer stuff, really, but
okay.
Definitely like their first 3 or 4 albums. I will definitely listen to.
Okay, so you like I mean, let's just say it starts at Among the Living for me anyway. A Fistful of Metals,
I don't even remember the first time I even listened to Anthrax, to be honest.
I was curious about that, like at your age.
Yeah, it had to have been definitely sometime in high school.
Okay.
And it was probably definitely the song that them and Run DMC did that I first heard.
Oh, Public Enemy, you mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Public
Enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it kind of like, oh, I should check this out. See what
so
else.
So you
is
a hip hop
out
guy too? I mean, you appreciate hip hop?
I do actually. It's a little known fact about me. Yeah, I really do.
I think a lot of metal guys do.
Yeah. I'm picky about it, but
people. Likewise here, man.
Yeah.
Really picky. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, this, I mean, I don't know if you saw, but I'm working on a comic book collage of Judge Dredd, and honestly, re-listening to this album is kind of what sparked it, because of the song I Am the Law.
I Am the Law, it was all about, that's what it was all about, man.
All about Judge Dredd, and I was like,
Indeed.
fuck, dude.
I didn't even know about Judge Dredd until I Am the Law. I didn't know about anything they were talking. Like, dude, Indians, like
Yeah.
war dance. Dude comes raging out with that freaking Indian headdress. I was like, what? This is the greatest thing ever. And then Scott Ian introduced me to the power mosh, like
Power
the self power mosh. Like he just riffing and power moshing in a circle.
Yeah.
Like nobody
Yeah.
had done that yet. Nobody.
I can't imagine that was easy to play guitar and do that
Dude,
at the
and
same time.
he is just such a vicious rhythm player.
Yeah.
And although Johnny Rock and Roll has taken over for Dan Spitz is a great lead guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, like the thing about Anthrax and something that I was trying to bring to the table, a little unknown fact that would probably interest a lot of people.
Yeah.
My exit from Unearth, which was really quick and not, I don't think none of us could have seen it coming.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5 days after my last tour with them, and I thought I was in the band for the long haul, you know?
Yeah.
But I had a conversation with Trevor. Now, he was never around. Trevor's a singer of Unearth.
Yep.
He was never around for the writing process. So with the March, Buzz and I wrote a lot of that record ourselves.
Damn.
Music-wise. That was him and I, that was our record. And Ken was working on a side project a lot of times and frustrated with writing with Buzz, so Buzz and I just ended up powering through that record. And we captured something really special, I believe, you know.
Yes, that album is very good. Super solid.
Thank you, man. And it's one of those records that, like, the songs could be played to 20 people in a 200 cap club and translate well, or 80,000 opening for AC/DC like we did at Donington in 2009.
Yeah.
And it translated well. But we started writing for the new record, and all I wanted to do was capture the spirit of Anthrax and that party vibe, yet still serious lyrically.
Uh-huh.
The coherence and power and intensity of Iron Maiden, and then the groove of Pantera. Imagine what that could have been. Meanwhile, they were so concerned with having to be so technical and like, and I was like, dude, this stuff does not translate properly live. It just sounds like mush. Where the March, any one of those songs could just be like, they're anthemic.
Yeah.
And that was what I was trying to bring to the table to a whole nother level. We could have been the biggest, like, arena metal band if we wanted, but they just weren't seeing what I saw. So I said, Trevor and I had a talk, and then he went to the guys and said, Derek's telling me that he's not feeling any of this new stuff. They were. And so it was literal amicable ways because just creatively we weren't on the same page.
Yeah, I can see where that would like drive a wedge in between stuff, especially
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks too because yeah, I mean, that's kind of interesting to think about, like how different it would be and where they would be at right now if that was kind of like the direction they chose instead of what they ended up going with.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, no, entirely.
I thought that was, even artwork-wise, I love that record. Imagery, subject matter, like, it was a modern-day Anthrax record with some breakdowns to me, man. Like, and that was something I really wanted, like, selfishly, and this is why, because what we're talking about.
Yeah, because it was your influence.
Part of me.
What influenced you and wanted you to like, what inspired you really to play, and that's
Correct.
kind of important to, you know, get across in the music that you're playing. And if you're just kind of playing, pardon the pun, to the beat of another drummer.
No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
That was so
Yeah.
adorbs. That was adorbs. As the
I-
kids say. Hashtag facts. All right.
Yeah, it takes the fun out of it. It's got to take.
Oh
the
no,
fun out of
dude!
it.
I probably sabotaged any real success I could. And let me. I mean, I had some pretty decent success. quote unquote, however you define it. But any real, like, massive success I could have had, I think I probably sabotaged myself a bit due to the fact that I was so integral about what I was doing. And now I'm fine with that. I'll die knowing I did exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, man. I do that a lot myself.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think it's
I
important.
question it occasionally, but, to be honest with you, I'm at a point in my life where I feel physically sick thinking about going back on the road for, like, weeks. My head's just not there anymore, man. Like, I did everything I wanted to and then some.
Yeah.
I just want to make a great record and hope that people care about it. It's tough these days, though, man. It's just the scope and the landscape of the way you release music, the way you project. It's so, like, and for a guy at 44 who grew up with records and still loves vinyl and the romance of music, and I will until the day I die too, and I'm okay with that. And it's not an old man way to think of things. I think it's a creative. It's still that creative force.
I mean, the good thing is too, man. Vinyl has definitely like made that comeback, and people are still buying it.
Did you know? Okay, so it was teetering with growing 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But 3 years ago, so it would have been calendar year 2000. Oh my God, 14.
14. Yeah.
I thought that was yesterday. Calendar year 2014, I believe, vinyl sales had grown that year 730%.
Yeah, it just blew
That's
up.
exponential, bro. Like,
yeah.
I can't even. I would like to see the actual numbers. Like, I can't even fathom.
I mean, I know I read an article about a month ago saying that like vinyl sales are even outgrowing digital sales now.
They are. Well, and I mean, the one thing that's cool is that, and it's really cute when I had this girl last week and she's like, yeah, I'm, oh, you listen to music, huh? Yeah. Oh, you like a lot of oh yeah, me too. I collect this stuff called vinyl. And I'm like, you're so adorable. Like, I invented vinyl. And so it's cool though to see the interest within the kids for something tangible. But dude, think about it. Think about Anthrax, Among the Living. Grab that record, 12 inches by 12 inches. You are committing to the whole thing. At least a side.
Yeah, no, entirely.
Because
I hate
going to a song. I'm starting at the beginning and playing it through, and I'm flipping it over, and I might flip it over again.
Yeah.
But just the artwork and how beautiful it is, like pulling it out of the sleeve, limited edition, swirled, whatever. Like, I am such a sucker. But not only that, it sounds better too, and we all know it.
Yeah. No,
so,
dude, I have an insane collection myself, as I know you definitely have a bunch of stuff.
I do.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you know about me these days, if you haven't talked to me in a while, I got some vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife's even like, she's really into it now too, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's something cool that we I have a really nice old school Marantz receiver. I got a beautiful SL1200 Techniques turntable, and we have a separate setup for the vinyl itself. So it's pretty awesome, man.
Oh, it's wonderful. Mine's still just like a dinky setup, but it does the job for
whatever, man. What do you got? One of those Crosleys or something?
No, definitely don't have Crossley.
All right, good. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, hey, that's cool, man. That's cool.
It's a Sony.
Oh,
but
awesome.
yeah, I got just like a sharper image speaker set, and it sounds good, man. I mean, there's definitely some records that we listen to them and we're just like, ooh, man, this sounds. Why would anybody listen to anything else? It's like kind of what we were saying the other night, me and my girlfriend. I was just like,
dude,
everything sounds so good.
So many times my wife and I just sat here having great conversations, have coffee, have a drink, adult beverage or spirit as you move around at work.
Yep.
And put on the vinyl, and there's just something romantic about it. I'm talking about from a physical product perspective and the sound itself. Far more like than any other tangible product that has been presented to us in the past. And it's crazy you see the amount of like reissues come. We can pretty much get anything on vinyl we want now.
Yeah, the reissues are a little bit ridiculous.
I agree. I
in my
concur.
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting a little out of hand. But
There's been some great ones that needed to happen due to the fact that, going
out of print
for
stuff, I agree.
Yes.
But when something's like already widely available, you don't need to press, another 3,000 of some fucking, I don't know, I can't think of an example right now, but especially record store day, a lot of that happens where it's like something that you can find in a dollar bin gets a reissue. And
not to be a dick about record store day, but I don't feel like there's anything really exciting that happens. Yeah, I just feel like it's more of like, hey, we're just going to try to push numbers. Yeah. There hasn't been anything really exciting that's come out on record store day except for stuff that I wanted to flip to make some cash on because I knew people were idiots.
Right? Yeah, it
Nothing
happens
I
every year,
personally
man.
wanted. I am a huge, real quick off, on topic with this topic.
Yeah, no, it's cool. We're digressing. We'll get to whatever whenever.
Yeah, we'll get back.
This is cool, man. This is fun.
I'm pretty sure, if I was in love with a man, it would be Jack White.
Okay.
And he is not only a genius songwriter and guitar player, amazing drummer, but his innovation in terms of the vinyl format and what he does with his limited edition club, and I'm not sure if you know much about it, but quarterly.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so Third Man Records puts out a quarterly. Nobody knows how many. He's never talked about numbers because he wants it to be special.
Yeah.
But I have from Vault number 20 to now 31 is this one's coming up. And some of the stuff that for $60 what he sends is I that's record store day to me,
Yeah.
I get a box with a double vinyl 7-inch, a fucking lithograph goddamn signed copy of some crazy ass photo. Dude, it's insane what you get for the money.
Did you see the record that he pressed that you had to it was like a full 12-inch, but you had to break it open to get the 7-inch that was inside the middle of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like a vinyl freaking pixie stick.
Yeah. I was like, damn, dude, I don't know if he was the one that started it or if it was Waxwork Records that started it, but the Liquid Filled Records.
Yeah, he had done one.
Okay.
I knew he had one, like kind of like prototype.
Yeah.
But I think they took it and ran with it.
Dude, that thing, I don't know if you've ever seen how much it goes for, but it's a pretty penny.
Yeah, they're from what I understand, like a lot of regular turntables can't even spin it because it's so heavy, though.
Oh.
That was the
I did not
issue
know
he
that.
was having. Yeah, so they're like beyond 200 gram, which is pretty heavy,
Yeah.
and will put the average turntable belt to work. I mean, 180 is a little ridiculous sometimes when you grab like Peter Gabriel record I had the other day. That was like literally my wife grabbed and she's like, "Oh my God, this is like one of those what did they used to be in a magazine, like the flex discs." It was just like almost like a vinyl piece of paper.
Yeah, I think they still do those.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen one in a while, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's been a minute myself, but there was a Carcass one that came out that I was trying to get for the longest time.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, those were wild. They used to come in like Modern Drummer magazine back in the day when I was a kid, and like a lot of the magazines just had them, and they were.
Decibel, that's who does it.
Okay, that sounds like something Decibel would do.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, since we're on the topic, I am curious. What is your favorite record in your collection? Maybe like a multitude of things, whether it's music, packaging, what the vinyl looks like, whatever. Like, what is your kind of treasure in your collection that you like the best? Your holy grail, if you will.
Wow, that's a good question, brother. All right, well, I am a complete sucker for limited edition and colored vinyl.
I feel you there. I'm the same way.
I am also a purist in terms of like OG copies I try to
Yep.
stick with because they weren't remastered to sound a little too hot. Because they pushed the volume in a lot of these reissues to
Yep.
like a CD, and it's like, all right, my analog receiver is at 2, and it sounds like 11, where I want to put it up to 9 and still have the clarity and warmth, because that's why I listen to fucking vinyl. But I will say, oh man, I'm looking over at my collection, just adoring it in a mad way. All right, I have the whole Deftones Hot Topic limited edition colored collection.
Nice.
So my wife and I are both huge Deftones fans.
Yeah.
My wife, probably the heaviest, her favorite heavy band. And like everybody's girlfriend and wife, she loves Chino. So we have the entire Deftones collection on limited edition colored vinyl. And that is definitely one of my favorite things I have. I have the whole Faith No More collection on limited edition colored vinyl, and that's all music on vinyl, MOV stuff, which I love that company, by the way.
Yeah.
MOV, Music on Vinyl.
Yeah, if I ever see their stuff as a reissue, I'm pretty down to get that. But if it's
They
anything
don't
else,
push stuff volume-wise, bro.
yeah,
And then OG stuff like with all the old Zeppelin stuff I have on the original issue, no reissues. They're all the Broadway versions of the first few records, and that's probably
nice.
they're all in mint condition. And I happened to get this collection from a guy back 15, 20 years ago for like $100, and it was like 500 records, and I just sat on them for a while, and there was sealed first issue Zeppelin stuff in there, the second record.
That's crazy.
I shit my pants when I saw that.
Oh man, yeah,
What about you?
My collection's I mean, it's small, but it's not small. But I have a few things, kind of like what you're talking about. I have,
Like, you got a few hundred, or you think even more than that?
yeah, I have probably 200.
Okay, that's a good collection
Yeah,
for someone your age, bro.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I think my favorites that I have I swear mine are going to sound so vastly different than yours. So I have all the Black Dahlia stuff on record.
Yeah.
All originals.
Yeah.
All autographed, because you know those guys through touring and stuff. It was like, hey man, will you just sign this for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that unhollowed record is no fucking joke. When trying to find it. So, and it's an original.
No shit. I didn't realize this stuff was tough to come by.
Well, they've done represses of everything now, so some
So
of
the
it's...
OG stuff, though, you mean?
Yeah.
Are they colored?
No, Unhollowed and Miasma are both black.
Okay.
But the reissues are colored.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything past those two records are all colored, and they're all like splattered variants or like purples and whatever theme of the album is. They kind of stick to those colors. So that's one thing that I'm stoked about. I have Fear Before the March of Flames, The Always Open Mouth. Mm-hmm. Really, really hard to get. Awesome record. Kind of overlooked band, I think.
They were on Equal Vision, weren't they?
Yeah.
Dude, that was when Seemless was on Equal Vision. They were with us.
Oh shit.
We played I knew those guys pretty well. The drummer I knew really well, and we played with them for the one time that Seemless got to South by Southwest, and we played with them that day. It was us, Circus Survive, Fear Before the March of Flames.
Damn.
Yeah, the Snake to Cross the Crown, and then a band that blew up. What were they? Shit, I can't remember. It wasn't Coheed, but it was someone around there.
Okay, yeah.
Because we were on Equal Vision when Coheed was right before their Columbia Upstream.
Damn.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah.
It seems like not that long ago, but it was a while, dude. That's
Yeah,
when
and
you
I think,
I thought, I was like, wait a minute, I know them guys.
Yeah, and I think the final thing that's like kind of my favorite that I've been having to rebuild is my David Bowie discography.
Oh wow, that makes me very happy to hear, bro.
Yeah, man. I stupidly about 3, 4 years ago, I traded my discography to get a really rare box set, and then he dies
Like
last
Sound and
year.
Vision,
Yeah, I did have that one. I don't have it anymore.
they just reissued it on 7-inch.
Hmm.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so they reissued Sound and Vision, but as 7 inches, and I'm not a big 7-inch guy.
Yeah, that's a
Only when
lot.
it's a limited tune, like something I can't get on the record.
Yeah.
But I just, it's a commitment.
Yeah, no,
You
I
gotta
agree.
sit there, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's the thing with some of these some of these reissues where they're trying to, where there's, okay, you don't need an Aerosmith record to be on, two separate discs. Their records didn't even hit 40 minutes, all right? So you got 2 songs on one side, 1 song on another, 3 on another, and then 2 on another, and you're like, all right, 2 songs, all right, 3 songs, all right. Like, dude, just put half the record on one side, half the record on the other side. I'm still going to pay the money. As a matter of fact, I'll pay a little extra for the convenience of one disc, you know?
Yeah, that's I don't know if you know this, but cuz I do have all the Between the Buried and Me stuff too. They're the first time that shit. The second album, I forget the name of it. The one before Alaska.
Okay.
When that album Silent Circus, yeah.
Yeah.
When that album got put out, it's only on 1,
Mm-hmm.
but when they did the reissue, they put it on 2. And I was like, why did this need to be on 2? Like, I have the one that's already on 1 record and it sounds fine.
So one of our complaints that we probably both share is the fact that, when it comes to the reissues, like you were talking about, it's getting a little ridiculous. It is that whole idea that more is more.
Yeah.
More is a better. They can get more money with more discs, but what they don't understand is, as being that more than the average vinyl listener, we find that to be pretty inconvenient to have to listen to 2 songs. Flip over
Sometimes,
to
definitely.
it's a pain in the ass. If you're listening to Opeth, it's one thing because you'll get still 2 songs. You're still going to get 25 minutes out of.
That's true.
I put on
That is true.
Deliverance 2 tracks, but it's still 20 minutes. I'm like, all right, cool. I can sit down, like chill, enjoy. Oh, dude, I do have 2 other things that hugely awesome in my collection. I just realized Deliverance on limited edition, opaque, like it's like this. It's a color vinyl I've never seen before, but it's almost like jizz swirl.
So
You
it's
get what I
like
mean?
cloudy, little white, little
We
yellow.
both said cloudy. Dude, Scrod would be proud.
Oh man, we
And
have
then,
gotten way off track here too, by the way. But
real quick, Porcupine
yeah.
Tree in absentia, limited edition swirl blue vinyl.
Oof, man.
Okay, so let's go back to Anthrax.
Yeah. Let's get back to the. The
Oh my
music.
god,
We gotta,
do you think are we gonna have to edit?
maybe, I don't know. We got. Let's just talk about these albums. We got like 3 albums to go through, and yeah,
Yeah, so
piece it.
it might be a good idea to do a little editing, but this was still awesome.
Yeah, totally.
So, Anthrax, I'm the man into Among the Living. Among the Living. One thing I was curious, did you happen to see any specs on the budget on that record or anything?
No, man, that
Yeah,
I
me
actually
either.
tried
I
to
was
look
kinda
for a lot of
probing
that
around.
stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't think they did. I don't think they paid very much for it because they were actually
Johnny
talking
C?
about. Yeah, he was talking about the fact that the guy who ran their label owned the record studio that they were going to record, so they got it for a pretty good price.
That's Johnny Z. He's Johnny Zazulu.
Yeah.
He's the one that started Megaforce and created a monster.
Yeah, jeez.
And he's a legend, man. He's a legend.
Yeah, so I don't.
It was to the we were getting so into those records back then that you knew about Johnny Z, the label head who we were so all of us were just so enamored by the whole thing back then, and thrash was still kind of new. The whole Bay Area thrash scene had just started. We'll be able to segue into a couple of the other records,
Yeah.
but it's funny and ironic that my foray with my introduction to metal started here on the East Coast when the West Coast is what became probably the most iconic.
Yeah, it's really crazy knowing that I lived in that area for a few years, like the whole San Francisco Bay Area stuff. Like nobody,
That
I mean,
spawned some of the greatest stuff we ever
yeah, and it's like long
still.
dead now. Nobody talks about it, but you kind of look around at places and clubs that aren't there anymore or were there, and you're like, holy fuck, Metallica played here in '83 or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like shit.
It's
That's
crazy to
crazy.
think that in the early 2000s, like Massachusetts became that iconic place for a little bit
Yeah, big
in
time.
terms of, metalcore and stuff. Like, I still forget that.
Yeah.
Like to you, that was,
Yeah, that was a bit of my era for sure because all those bands that came from there, Killswitch, Red Chord, all that,
yeah,
Acacia Strain,
yeah,
a little
crazy.
bit, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
But
list
it's,
goes. Oh, Blood Has Been Shed.
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah,
Forgot about
that band's fucking awesome.
Overcast.
Yes.
Overcast is, they're all, there's those guys, like, it's crazy to think where everybody ended up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Shadows Fall, All That Remains.
Yeah. Fuck.
Although well, kind of. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. 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 I mean, shit, man. I can't imagine too. Like, that's one thing I always try to put myself in when like looking at these albums or thinking about them, like what it was like for the people that were around when this stuff came out. Because I don't have any like starting point for it because it's just like, oh, it's been out for 20 something years now for me. Almost
Yeah, and that's
30
why I was
now.
curious when you found that stuff
Mm-hmm.
as a 30-year-old as opposed to me as a 44-year-old because, well, like you said, it's crazy. We're talking about a generation's difference, so it's kind of
Yeah.
cool that we can have this conversation because now here I am, that guy that was around when it came out, and I can tell
Honestly,
you exactly what was happening.
yeah, for me it just trickled in over time. Like I'm sure there was a point where when I first heard it, I was like, "Oh, what is this? I don't like it." But then
Right, so it was classic metal to you though when you were
yeah,
introduced to it.
definitely.
Okay, see, it was brand new to me.
Yeah, and that's the craziest thing to me because when I hear something now that's brand new, I'm like, "Holy fuck, this is amazing. Like this is going to change everything." And then I'm sure that's exactly what this was like when it came out, especially having that I'm the Man song where nobody had really done like the rap metal crossover thing like that before, and to have awesome musicians playing that kind of style of music, it's yeah, I bet everybody was just kind of like, what the fuck is, dude, this is great.
Yeah, it was crazy. And as a fan of multi-genre, like
Hmm.
multiple genres and like having a diverse palette, that was what was so appealing with I'm the Man. But ironically enough, that's what introduced me to Among the Living,
Hmm.
being and it is a dark record.
Yeah, there's a lot
Image
of
wise it's dark. Subject matter it's dark. And then even just the 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 sheer brutality and the just the guitar tone, like everything to me is just so dark on that record, but like in a good way.
yeah, the album cover too is actually very interesting to me. I remember seeing it as a kid in record stores, and I was like, "Oh, what is this? Some kind of like religious kind of album?" you know?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, because it's got the preacher on there. And then like when I was reading about this record, I mean, it's up for debate, but there's a lot of songs on this record that have to do with Stephen King and The Stand. So some people
Yep.
think it's Randall Flagg from The Stand, or some people think it's the dude from Poltergeist, and it's cool either way. Like it's a cool fucking cover. It's very ominous. The guy, standing in that crowd, he sticks out from everything else, and he looks very menacing and just like Yeah, it's creepy. It's creepy.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Creeptastic is what I refer to stuff like that as.
Yeah. And then when
Mm.
you think about like the kind of songs on the album and the subject matter, I feel like they definitely put a lot of work into this album, even though maybe they didn't. You know, like I mean, I definitely read that they were, pretty. What do you call it? I guess inspired or, trying to
Yeah,
have
this
to
was
outdo.
I think this was the record for them to make their mark, and they did.
Yeah. No, big
Yeah,
time.
and this, transcended everything they've done since.
Yeah.
I don't think. Well, no, because Persistence of Time was probably their biggest record. Um,
Hmm.
Sales and like scope wise, but Among the Living is the one that, I mean, I would say it's regarded as everybody's favorite record. Like if you're an
Yeah.
Anthrax fan, Among the Living is, Anthrax fans' favorite record.
Yeah. I mean, Caught in a Mosh. That song is classic.
Everything. I mean, everything from the record is iconic.
Yeah.
Period. And it was new. It was a whole genre. I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, this was part of, ironically enough, the East Coast's version of the Bay Area thrash scene. They still fit in with all those guys. It wasn't anything, you know, too different than what was happening over there, with the exception of 3,000 plus miles.
Yeah. Even then, like there is a bit of difference in terms of like playing style, but I mean you know, that's band to
But really,
band.
when you put Among the Living up against And Justice for All, there's not
Hmm.
really that much difference. I mean, the drum tone, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm talking like just riff wise. There's a lot of similarities. I think vocally, obviously, there's a huge
Yeah.
difference, but
And I think the song structure a little bit too, maybe.
yeah, most
A little
definitely. I
bit.
mean, Anthrax was getting to the point.
Hmm.
Metallica was taking their time getting to the point. I'm not complaining, because we could segue into the fact that And Justice for All was another one of my iconic records that brought me into the metal world.
Yeah.
But
And that
justifiably so, right?
yeah, that album came out about a year later in August
Little
of
less than a year
1988.
later, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
or maybe a little. I mean, it was right around a year.
Yeah.
And I had found the Anthrax stuff a little late, so it kind of all came to me at once. You see what I mean?
Damn.
So I found Anthrax, and that stuff had already been out for like say 6 months,
Hmm.
and I fell in love with it for a few months, and then Injustice for All dropped, and it was just like, oh my god, what the fuck is this?
So
I
you
mean,
had you heard other Metallica stuff before Injustice for All, or was that like the first one that you got?
Injustice for, I'm not afraid to say it. I don't know. Maybe this isn't a controversial thing to say in the Metallica world, but Injustice for All was the first record that I understood and that I actually, you know, listened to. Do you
Okay.
believe that?
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes
Pretty
sense.
crazy though, right?
Yeah. I mean, it sucks for me because like the first that I heard of them was Black Album,
Yeah.
and I mean, the album's whatever, but my favorite record of theirs is Ride the
Master.
Lightning.
Really?
Yeah, dude. That album's
Wow.
awesome.
That's interesting. I think Master is after I found Injustice for All, I went back to Master, and Master made a lot of sense to me.
Hmm.
Although it was weird that if you I just want you to think about this for a second. But doesn't it sound like Injustice would have been before Master? Master's more polished in a way.
Um.
Don't you think?
hmm.
Maybe because you can hear bass.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I
Um.
feel that it's more polished.
hmm.
Honestly, the song structures were just so much more coherent. But that's what
That
I
I
loved
agree
about.
with.
That's what I loved about Injustice for All. The fact that it was so all over the place, but it made sense, and it was vicious, like so heavy.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to like wrap my head around that the Master album now. Man, you broke me there for a second.
Yeah, good. Gotta
Yeah, that's
keep kids
interesting.
on your toes. But Injustice, when were you introduced to Injustice?
Uh, I would I would definitely say high school for sure
Okay.
because I think Metallica hit me all at once, and I went back through like their whole discography, and I didn't like anything post Black Album for sure, just like everybody else.
And
I
until the
was
new record,
really
me neither.
yeah I was really hooked into Kill 'Em All for the longest time.
Really?
Then yeah, and then I don't know why I think the guitar solos on that record were really good. And
Because
then
they
I
are.
got really into and then I got really into Injustice for All, and then I got into Master of Puppets. For whatever reason though, I did not actually like Ride the Lightning at that time, and it wasn't until years later that like I noticed all the songs from that album started getting stuck in my head, and I was like, dude, I fucking love this album so much.
Yeah.
I mean, Trapped Under Ice and fuck yeah, I love that album.
Well, dude,
But
they were one. So when I found Injustice for All, like that record was just so another one. I think I just had this like I had fallen in love with dark metal music because that record to me was equally as dark as Among the Living.
this yeah, especially one. I mean, I know that's like the
Oh,
most
good God.
known track, but I mean, holy fuck, dude. Just the consequences of being stuck like that dude is
Yeah, it's
terrifying.
dark, yeah. But even like whoa, hey, oh, whoa, it was just creepy, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. The only downside for me on this album is I don't really like how long the songs are on it,
See, yeah, I
but
didn't
I
mind
get
that because
why
you know
they
what?
are.
The mark of a great song that's long to me is
Hmm.
not realizing exactly how long it is. And I had no idea that Injustice for All, one of my favorite Metallica songs ever, was 9+ minutes.
Yeah.
To me, it felt like a 5 or 6 minute metal song, like one of my average metal songs. But they paced themselves in a way that you didn't even realize they were long songs because they were written properly.
Yeah.
Um,
Nowadays, I appreciate it more, but like in high school, my attention span was like, oh my god, this is past
and
four
dude, I
minutes.
totally get that. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
totally understand that. That's just generationally.
Yep.
That's kind of something that is, you know, it's just
But I
the
mean,
way it
now, dude,
is too.
I have no problem listening to like a epic 15-minute like funeral doom metal song. So I'm
But that
definitely
you've
way
grown.
over that.
You've
Yeah,
grown.
yeah.
You're not a kid, you know.
True, true.
And when we were kids, our attentions. I mean, I maybe when I was a kid, it was just a little different because
I
like this was all so exciting too. It was new,
yeah. Yeah, because you had it when it was new. I had it when it had been around for a while, so it was just kind of like,
and it already had been chewed up and spit out like
yeah,
hundreds of times over too.
yeah.
So yeah, I totally. I I think that's kind of the difference in those two thought processes. But
Hmm.
um, I totally understand where you're coming from, though, for sure.
I
For
mean,
me, though, as an adult, like I don't give a shit because we write some. My new band writes some long songs, but if the riff calls to be that long, or go
do
for
it.
that long, then I'm sorry, it just has to go that long. You know, it's just
Yeah.
nothing. But to me, when a long song is written properly, it doesn't feel long, and none of those songs felt long to me at that time.
Hmm.
Like even Blackened, that opens the record, has a 1 minute fade in, but the
Yes, it
tension
does.
it builds, and then bam,
Yep.
like holy fucking shit. The first time I heard that, I was like, and then the drums just like the plodding heaviness of all of it. I just couldn't believe it.
Which is crazy. You know, that album is definitely like way heavier than a lot of their albums, which doesn't
Yeah.
make sense considering like all the little like shit that happened with the bass getting basically cut out of the mix.
Have you ever
'Cause
heard any of those YouTube versions that somebody recorded bass?
no,
Oh, it's
does
I
it make a
think
difference?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
see, that's what I was
but
saying, man. I was like, I bet this album would have been like at least 5 or 10 times heavier with that bass just like cranked up, even if it was just following the guitar patterns.
I believe it's listed under and Jason for All or and
Okay,
Justice for Jason or something.
okay,
But go and listen
yeah,
and just get like with headphones and just listen to the sheer extra heaviness that it carries when bass is present in the mix.
dude, I definitely want to now. That's actually
But
pretty exciting to me.
it was, and I've just found it about a year ago.
Hmm.
I just thought of it in the top of my head. I'm like, somebody had to have recorded bass to
Yeah,
this record and put it up. Like they had to have, and I found it, and you'll see it's been viewed millions of times. I mean, well, I'm
damn.
sorry, quote unquote viewed, listened to, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's pretty exciting to hear at first, but it definitely doesn't sound right because we're so used to hearing them without the bass, and it wasn't.
Huh.
I don't. It's the drums really carried a lot of the heaviness, and as much as Lars gets shit on all the time,
Mhm.
that record was his moment, like period.
You know, I was reading about how even the drums, like they had problems with the mixing on the drums, and that's why it sounds the way it does. But it was like kind of one of those happy accidents, where it's like,
Yes, that is
yeah,
absolutely true. By the way, they
yeah,
had I can't remember the exact story, but I believe that they were
um,
having there was so many issues with the recording of that record.
yeah. They
Here,
brought in a couple different guys. One guy was named Steve Thompson.
yep,
He mixed the album, and he said that Ulrich was to blame for the inaudible bass and weird drums, and then like, uh, Ulrich says it was Thompson, and it's kind of like back and forth, with that.
yeah. I know that they.
Whoever's Go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay. Um, I know that they had used like a separate reel for the drums alone, and something happened within that reel or something.
Hmm.
And they had to go in and do a bunch of punches. Lars is on and off, like playing wise, which she's always been. Let's face it. Um, but back then, you still had to, dude. You had to perform a take. Um, he put a lot of work into that record.
Yeah,
You hear,
and yeah. It says here they were using three reels: one for drums, one for bass, and one for guitars, and then the third
yeah.
for anything else. So they kind of had to like. I
Imagine
bet.
that though, like when in this day and age of digital recording, and regardless, like I can't remember. You've never been in a band? You worked for them, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
But you know about the recording process these days, and I mean
yeah,
you know about everything, even though
yeah.
you're not a player,
Everybody records in a different room. They play their own track, and then it gets all mashed together,
right? But
pretty much.
digitally, like there's no reels anymore.
Nope.
These were tapes, dude.
Everything can be pitch
Huge.
shifted and
You got it.
changed.
This couldn't happen back then.
Nope.
This was a lot of work they put into that record. And
Yeah.
then there were a couple of songs that didn't make the album. And I'll tell you one that came from this session that I'm not sure was even in these notes. Um, and I just briefly skimmed the notes. I'm going from what I know from like
Oh, dude, that's
fan
fine.
files.
I'd rather hear like what you have to say about these albums than like my notes.
Oh, that's
That's
cool,
all I
man. I
care about.
appreciated having these for a reference though. But
Yeah.
something I'm not sure if you knew, but did you ever hear their version of Stone Cold Crazy by Queen?
No. What?
Oh my good
Well,
God. And anybody listening right now, please go listen to Metallica's version of Stone Cold Crazy. It's one of the heaviest things that didn't even make the album, but it came from this session with the Injustice for All sessions.
Queen record. That's what we were talking about.
Oh, so I was
Or
telling
song.
you about
Yeah.
yeah, so out of the Injustice for All sessions, there were a few the Prince, Bread Fan, they were covers
Hmm.
from old Nawabo bands that Lars loved. Um, so funny saying Nawabo,
Yeah.
the new wave of British heavy metal.
No. Yeah. We were talking about it on our last episode. We're like, oh yeah, Nawabum.
Yeah. Um, And then it sounds so silly. I just said it without even thinking about it. Like I was just like, so no album. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that two of the Prince and Bread fan had come from a couple of those bands that he really liked that were like real deep cuts.
Mm-hmm.
But Stone Cold Crazy was quite possibly one of the best songs from those sessions, and it was a B-side.
So
I believe it was a B-side for Harvester's Sorrow, maybe?
was that also stuff that ended up getting put on Garage Inc.?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely listened to that album quite a bit too when it came out.
Yeah.
I like the cover song aspect of it.
Wait, I don't... Garage Inc. No, Stone Cold Crazy wasn't on there, because
Okay.
that was a strict cover record that they had done at that. That was post-Black Album covers, right?
Well, no, because Bread Fan was definitely on that album.
Okay, then Stone Cold Crazy, I don't know if it made that record. But it was the B-side to, I believe, Harvester's Sorrow. There were a couple of Harvester's Sorrow 12-inch and CD, like 7-inch singles that came out for that were UK releases, and Stone Cold Crazy was on that. And then when I found it, I never even realized that Queen made anything so heavy.
Yeah, Stone Cold Crazy is definitely on there.
Oh my God! Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the second disc.
Okay, you have to hear it later, man. Like, you're gonna definitely reappreciate it now, knowing it came from the Injustice sessions, and that's a Queen tune that like you never realized was so heavy.
Yeah, I guarantee you I listened to that album quite a bit, and I never would have known that was a Queen song.
Yeah. And the Queen version is for Queen in the time, it's just as heavy. Like I mean,
Oh, I believe it.
I'm saying approaching it in I always approach music and try to put myself in that era, not now,
Yes.
So when I'm listening to something older that I'm rediscovering or I'm just finding, I try to put myself in however old I was shoes. I like playing games with myself like that,
Yeah.
But it helps you appreciate the stuff a lot more, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we talk about that a little bit, like kind of on the podcast too. Is like not every metal band has specifically metal influences. Like there's classical influences. There's regular like radio rock influences. Queen. I mean, yeah, Metallica's like cover album. That's a big indication of like all their crazy influences that they have, and that's
You're totally right, man. I
Yeah.
forgot about Garage Inc. and that it was a culmination of like all of those B-sides of covers. I was thinking for some reason because I had heard "Turn the Page" from that,
Yeah.
and Whiskey in the Jarro and shit, and
Yeah, there's some weird. I mean,
I didn't like those at all, man.
Yeah, it's definitely hit or miss, but there is a lot
Yeah.
of the good, like pretty good covers on there, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Breadfan and the Prince were great.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about like those songs or those bands until I had heard, the covers. So, another thing about all these guys is from doing this, like they helped us discover this was what was so beautiful about Anthrax and Metallica in particular.
Mhm.
Like Lars, like I said, say what you want about his playing. It's been inconsistent through the years, I agree. But he's always brought such a stylistic approach to his playing that is unmatched by anyone else. If someone went to fill in for Lars, Metallica wouldn't sound like Metallica. Period.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, dude, isn't he like self-taught too?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I mean,
He doesn't know anything about drums, dude.
Yeah.
He just played. He was he was going to be a professional tennis player.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you know that?
Yeah. No, I did.
And his dad had that like ingrained. Like he came from a pretty like entitled upbringing too, where the rest of the guys did not. They were working class guys. But one thing about Lars too was he brought this element of weirdness from his influences because he grew up in Denmark.
Yep.
And the whole Nawabum thing, which the guys here were just like, Sabbath and Zeppelin done like times 1,000, you know?
Yeah.
Where he was like, hey, check this out, check that out. Like, he was bringing different influences to the table. And that's how I found out about a lot of older music was from Lars alone. Then Anthrax, I didn't know about Public Enemy. I just kept seeing Public Enemy all over their clothes. And I was like, well, if they're into them, then I must be into them. And then I heard them like, or Fishbone, like a band like Fishbone. I would have never found Fishbone if it wasn't for seeing Scott Ian wear like their shorts or a shirt, you know?
Yeah.
Fishbone being like, you know, megalomaniacal, like, I can't, I don't know if you ever heard them, but they were like ska meets metal meets like soul meets, they were all over the place.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them. That's for
Yeah,
sure. But...
yeah. So, but it was so amazing and exciting to be into metal at that point in time, because what you know as classic metal is what I know is new NEW metal, not new NU, not the dreaded new metal.
Dude, I gotta admit, that's one of the parts of this podcast that I'm dreading is when we get to new metal, because I'm like, there are very, very few bands that I'm like into as far as new metal goes.
Yeah,
but I mean, I have to talk about it.
You do,
yeah.
Kind of like Dude Man did, and Sam, what was it? The Metal Evolution. He didn't want to talk about it either. Yep. He approached it in a really open-minded way, though. You know.
I mean,
and I can see you doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's definitely albums that I enjoy from that time, but nothing that's lasted outside of Slipknot. And even then, I don't even listen to Slipknot that much.
I wouldn't even put them in the new metal realm, but I don't know.
No. I mean, I agree. Especially with
that's a tough one.
Iowa alone, that album is brutal as fuck.
Yeah, brutal AF, bruh.
Yeah.
When that came out, I was in Japan with Shadows Fall. Isn't that crazy?
Holy shit.
So that was 2001 then.
Yeah, that was. No. Was it?
Yeah, it would have been 2001.
Damn.
Holy shit, man. Yeah, because I was in Japan with Shadows Fall, came home, and 2 weeks later, September 11th happened.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Never forget it.
Yeah. And then Slayer's album came out on 9/11.
Oh, my God. Crazy. Oh, we could get in. Oh,
yeah.
We're all over the place.
I know.
You can tell my concerta has worn off for the day.
So was tape trading still pretty big around that time? Was that still going on?
Don't forget, like Scrod gave me a mixtape.
Okay, cool.
I kind of started talking about that, but Scrod was giving me mixtapes and trying to get me into anything but hair metal.
Uh-huh.
And that was his mission. It was almost like, God, this kid, he was a little bit older than me. Mm-hmm. 4 years, I think. And so I was a junior. He was already out of high school. So we're talking about 16 and 20, right? Mm-hmm. Like significant difference. A high school generation's difference we were, you know?
Yeah.
And he was just so taken by the fact that, like, how could this kid that loves classic rock so much and can play drums pretty well, and he knew that, be into this shitty music? And it was his, it was kind of his, I felt like it was, he was just kept trying to get me into anything but hair metal. And he succeeded. Like, he's single-handedly responsible.
You know, this actually brings up something that I'm remembering now. When I was in high school, I had this kid that, like, I wasn't, like, friends with, but I kind of knew him. And he was, like, kind of just starting to get into metal a little bit. And I remember specifically making him a mixtape, because it was still, like, a little bit before CDs had kind of, like, taken over as far as, like, burning CDs and stuff like that.
Wait a minute, so you did some mixtapes?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I was just getting ready to ask if you had, like, strictly been part of had you already had the CD burning already come into...
No, I definitely had that around, like, my 11th, 12th grade year for sure. That, like, hit big. That's all I had was, like, burned CDs.
Okay.
But around 10th grade, I still didn't really have that too much. And I remember because through our cable provider, we had, like, satellite radio, and at night they would have, like, the heavy metal channel. Okay. And this kid was, like, just kind of getting into metal, and I was like, dude, I'm going to make you, like, a mixtape. So I ended up staying up super fucking late to listen to the satellite radio, and like record him all these songs on the tape, and I still remember some of them, not all of them, but I know there was a Carcass song on there, a Morbid Angel song, and a Mortician song on there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I was like, this is going to change your life, kid.
Yeah, and I'm sure it did.
I don't remember what else was on there.
Or he was like, bye-bye.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened to the kid or anything, but I remember specifically making a tape for him to be like, this is what you should be listening to. Because, you know, like I was saying, I grew up in a small town, and like, I was the weird kid listening to like all the death metal and like black metal stuff and like hardcore, and everybody else was like, oh, you should listen to Norma Jean and Atreyu, and like I dug some of that stuff, but I wasn't like super into it like I was, you know, like Black Dahlia and stuff like that. It was weird.
Wow. So when did you get into this stuff?
Probably a little bit after high school.
Okay, so it was
because the internet like exploded, and it was like, oh, I can download whatever I want, you know.
Yeah.
So I
you
would
were
just
like, oh, I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna grab that.
Yeah.
Like,
did a lot of exploring for sure.
Yeah, which is the one good thing.
I
about
also,
that whole thing.
Yeah, I also had a used CD store, so I could go buy some of these albums for like $1 used and listen to them that way. And if I didn't like them, I could just bring them back.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was a culmination.
Yeah.
But that
I feel like now is the worst point in time for new music in terms of like, listen to us romance about how awesome it was back in the day, whether it be back in your day or mine. But right now they're just like, oh yeah, so I had this one song on my phone, fucking streamed it on YouTube.
Yep.
Whatever. Like,
yeah, it sucks, man. That's how I usually find out about something, is like through a video on YouTube, and it's like, oh, what band is this?
Yeah, and then like say
Bandcamp.
I love I still love hip hop and street dance and stuff like that these days, you know. And say somebody like Missy Elliott, who I'm like I've been obsessed with from the day she came out. Mm-hmm. She's only dropped. I realized I saw she's just put out a third single in like 6 months, but she doesn't even have a record coming out. So people are just dropping singles, and it's bumming me out.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they realize that it's not her fault. It's consumers' fault for not supporting a record.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so hard to sell records or make them, and there's no payoff for it. I can't even imagine, like...
Dude, I'll be straight up honest with you. I have a record that's been done. I'm a classic artist, working with another classic artist, who I have another underground artist and another dude from, we're pretty much an underground supergroup, you know? Mm-hmm. And we have a record that we submitted to 3 major metal labels who all wanted it. Mm-hmm. And we had 2 approaches that we could make with this. Be honest and not get blacklisted for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And tell them, look, we don't want to tour. We have families. We can't be in a van at 40 or late 30s, early 40s, making no money.
Yep.
We'll go out with Lamb of God for a week if they come through and want to bring us out for a string of shows. Yeah, no problem. I'm close to those guys. They would do that. We co-wrote one of the tunes on the records, co-written with Mark Morton.
Nice.
You know? Oh yeah. And this record is, I know for a fact, I mean, they were all really excited about it. But I said we can approach it and we can lie to them and tell them, yeah, we'll do whatever you want, and then just say, yeah, no, sorry. Mm-hmm. But we'll never be able to do anything else again. So we better hope this is the best record of our lives, because we'll never be able to put out another record.
Yeah.
Or we be honest with them. So we all agreed, let's just be honest with them. So I sent this really heartfelt email. Look, we want to work with you. Metal Blade was the major label we really wanted, and they were all over us.
Yeah, that's fucking fantastic, man.
Well, they dropped the whole idea because I told them, well, the band has decided that we can't do this full time, but we want you guys to, we want to be part of your label, because we all are 110%. Like, of the 3 labels that were presented to us, Metal Blade was the one we wanted and would be good for us.
Yeah.
And it's not anybody's fault in particular. But Faley came back and just was very honest with me and said, Derek, I can't get anybody to back this because you guys aren't doing it full time, and I'm sorry. But the fact that a minimal investment record couldn't even be taken care of through them with guys that have a history made me realize it's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's consumers and music fans' fault
Yeah, it's the climate.
for not supporting. Yeah.
So, man. So, like, even though you guys are paying for the recording yourself, right?
It was done on spec. Like the guy that produced and engineered it and mixed it did it for free with some time he had, and he's just been waiting to get paid.
Damn.
But like you think about back to these days, and I was buying UK imports. I was buying every version of anything that got released on Unjustice for All or Among the Living or okay, Testament, Practice What You Preach. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go into that.
We'll get into that. Yeah. But the climate was so like it's just so crazy to think about. Even think about when you were younger, in the whole CD era, like it was crazy. You bought them all the time.
Yeah.
You knew about Tuesdays.
Yeah.
You worked hard for that money. You invested it. You invested your time. You took chances. You know.
Yeah. No, big time, man. I pretty much remember when it dropped off too. It was like pretty much right after I graduated high school in like '05. It just dropped.
Quick too.
Yeah. It was the craziest thing, and it was like, oh, well, I don't need to go. And it sucks that I had that mindset at the time. Obviously, I changed it, but it was like, oh, I don't need to go buy CDs anymore. I can just get them anywhere.
Yeah.
It was so strange.
It is, and it's still strange to me, you know.
Yeah, I pick and choose what I buy now. Obviously, I can't buy everything, but if I do buy it, I tend to buy it on vinyl.
Likewise here.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I bought like everything of was when Converge put their last record out. I got it on vinyl, CD, and cassette.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
Was that like a one of those packages that a lot of bands are putting together these days?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, it's cool though.
Fuck, man. I
and you're
want
still
them all.
supporting the medium, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what matters to me more than buying a T-shirt. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I like, you know, speaking from both sides, fan and, you know, working musician.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate it too, bro.
Yeah.
So
that's always what kind of got me about touring, when like bands would kind of give you their CD for free, and it was like, wait a minute, you guys depend on this, but you're gonna give it to me for free or like at cost, like.
Well, the one thing was, don't forget, to just get into a little business.
Yeah.
You know, we were investing our money into merch.
Yeah.
At that point in time, not now, because the 360 deal now exists. And the reason why Metal Blade did not want to do anything for us was because, well, if we're only going to have Downpour in their record on 1/4 of the revenue stream, which is the least revenue stream that we have, when they have booking in-house now, they have their own merch company in-house. They have a 360-degree revenue stream for bands now.
Damn.
Okay? Back then, like when we were just like, because dude, when were we touring together? Like, I can't believe I'm saying back then.
Yeah.
But dude, this year, I mean, we're talking about closer to 10 years than not.
Yeah.
That's a significant difference in the scope of the industry. So back then, Metal Blade was giving us, okay, we'll give you a certain amount of boxes of CDs to bring on the road with you, but it didn't hurt us as hard because we weren't investing in those. Those were given to us. So if I gave you one of our records, it was it wasn't so like if I gave you a shirt, it affected us more than a record.
Yep.
Now, it all matters because everything's part of the revenue stream. See what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
So that's pretty crazy, right? So that alone just tells you how things have changed.
Man.
From when we were touring together in 2009.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But, you know, it's still cool that you always, like, felt that you wanted to support the band. No, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly just felt like I got lucky doing what I was doing, even just being a small cog in the machine, you know? And I always felt thankful for, like, the dudes that were cool on the road that, like, wanted to hook me up, you know, And even the
Well,
guys that couldn't, it was like, dude, I'll still pay for it. Like, I'm a fan or whatever. Or even if I'm not a fan, like, you're still busting. I see you busting your ass, and I want to give you something back.
well, you saw the reality of things too. So,
True.
you went from fan to like working fan to like, holy shit, these guys are human and just like me,
Yeah.
and all going home to. They just happen to be in the band.
Yep.
But man, like, just think about the amount of respect that you got on the road from a lot of guys that you probably didn't expect to.
Oh yeah, big time. It was crazy to me. So surreal.
Yeah, and even to me. So like, you look at me the way I look at like Testament.
Yeah.
When I walked in, when we toured with Testament and Lazarus AD in 2008. When I walked in, like, I was so geeked out nervous because Testament was one of my favorite bands in high school. That was the next one I found because of Metallica. So in the stream of everyone, I started with Anthrax. I ended up in Metallica land because, well, that was just the next place to go.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me too because that was like a very high selling record for them too. So like, if you didn't go from Anthrax to Metallica, I'd be very surprised, to be honest.
Right. And then with Metallica and the whole Bay Area thrash scene came other bands, and the one I liked the most was Testament.
Yeah.
And Practice What You Preach was the first record I found from them. And that record...
It's about a year after Injustice for All?
Not even. I think it was within the year. And it was just... it was different. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that like wall of rhythm guitars. This has got the virtuosic stylings of my great friend Alex Skolnick. I can't believe I can call him my great friend.
Yeah, it's cool as fuck, man. I watched his NAMM stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
He's so amazing, dude. And you have to understand, like, I went to see, so it was right before Christmas in '89, I believe. It was Judas Priest on Painkiller with Megadeth, Rust in Peace Megadeth opening right in the middle slot, and Testament on Souls of Black.
God damn.
Yeah, and I went strictly to see Testament in an arena. So I went to an arena show strictly to see Testament play for 30 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And then I saw them countless times after. But as a drummer who knew nothing about guitar at that time in high school, I was still trying to hone in on my skills as a drummer, never mind like understand guitar playing. And now these days, I play a lot of instruments and I write a lot. But something about Skolnick's playing stuck out to the point that I knew there was something so special about him. And then now that like think about him jamming with my band when he was in town a couple years ago, and like I can't even. I just can't believe that. Yeah, sometimes I forget he's who he is in the history of who I am.
It's crazy, right? It's very surreal.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Like when I go back and listen to Practice What You Preach, and then I go, wait a minute, like all of these guys just texted me last week, like checking up on me. Never mind the fact that my buddy was in New York City, like, hey, I bumped into Skolnick buying a Foreman grill at the Target today. No joke, that happened. And he was, I told him I knew you, and he was like, I just talked to him yesterday. So, it's funny.
Was it? I'm pretty sure it was you that did this for me. I forget where it was, but there was a show that Jesse was at, and I was like, I was like a huge Killswitch fan, obviously, and you were like, dude, come meet him. I was like, what? I could come meet him? Was that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like freaking out because I was like, holy fuck, man, I don't even know what to say to him. And I was just like, hey, man, just wanted to say hi, big fan.
Because he came and sang with us, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we were on tour together that time, he came up and sang Endless with us.
Yeah, damn, that's right.
Yeah.
I was super fucking stoked for that, too.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesse's pretty. He's got an otherworldly presence for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can imagine, dude. So like, think about this: those guys had written and put out that album when you were like a kid, and your point of reference for them is just being this entity, and you being a kid. So now it's like you have this other point of reference where like you're a grown man and they're your friends, but they made this
Yeah,
album that influenced you as a kid, and like it kind of meshes together that way,
and I'll tell you what, and that point alone is mind-boggling to me.
right?
But the other point is lyrically, Chuck Billy wrote some of the stuff that hit me the hardest on that record, I think, from a struggle in the face of adversity perspective. Songs about anti-suicide songs and, just like, the greenhouse effect and like how, we're killing this planet. He
Yeah.
was on top of that in 88, 89, dude.
Yeah,
Still relevant today.
Oh yeah, big time, man. And people don't realize that stuff. Everybody wants to demonize metal and thinking that's like all fucking evil and scary, but if you listen or read to a lot of the lyrics in some of these bands, they're hitting on real issues here. They're not just like doing it for shock factor. It's their way of getting out their message,
Dude, not only that, but from a, staying grounded perspective for me,
Mm-hmm.
the reason why I'm able to be who I am is because of the creative outlet I have in metal. And I have a lot of frustrations, not negative frustrations, like more sad frustrations. Like I'm seeing a lot more death in my life right now,
Yeah.
for the first time, and it's really terrifying, and it's hard to reconcile. But when I look back on a lot of Fade to Black and like, there's a lot of metal songs that deal with this topic
Yeah.
because it's a dark one that a lot of people don't want to talk about. You just want to forget about it. But I got to be honest with you, this record, the Downpour record,
Mm-hmm.
carries the influence of, Chuck Billy sang a lot of songs about like questioning death and mortality too.
Mm-hmm.
And not from a religious perspective, from a man. I said perspective like maybe like 5 times in the last 3 sentences. I apologize. I just realized that.
No, it's good. I mean,
That's the English minor in me coming through. Psych. So it's pretty interesting to put myself in that because they were a little older when they wrote those records. Now I'm a little older going through the same thing and not even consciously wanting to write about death or the idea of my own mortality, or just questioning authority or
yeah.
anything. But it's always been, it's either been a dark or a positive place that metal has brought me, but it's always been a questioning one, which I think is really to empower.
Yeah.
And I needed that because I had no support system. Those guys helped me through the most difficult points of my life.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I guess I can't really speak for a lot of people, but it seems like that's why a good amount of people listen to metal in some way. It's like some kind of outlet / support system for people that are not necessarily having like the best time or, struggling with something in their life. I mean, I know that's part, like, kind of what you're saying, part of a lot of the reasons why I got into it as well, man. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess, but
Well, we're in it, and anybody that's listening to this is a metal person,
yeah, I would hope so.
and
Anyways.
they would and they would understand where we're coming from. I'm sure.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to look for that escape. Is basically what I think you were trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. Do you
And this was a
know?
place where we could dive in.
This is gonna. Do you know what my first like metal album was that like got me into it though?
So crazy, because this is a question I wanted to ask you a little
Okay.
while ago and
Yeah,
neglected to. So hold on, hey dude,
Yeah.
I'm curious. you asked me, but I want to ask you,
Okay.
what was your entrance into metal?
Okay, so I remember it pretty vividly. It was crazy because up until this point, I really had not listened to metal. It's like a little bit of punk music at the most. I was in 7th grade probably, just like fresh into 7th grade.
Hold on, I want to try to guess.
Okay.
All right, but you're building it up, so keep building without giving me any like details. Just
Okay.
start working your way to it and drop a couple subtle hints.
Okay, so basically,
Do I know the band?
You
Like,
should.
personally?
Yeah,
you think
I think you do. I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure, but I think you do.
Okay, keep going.
So yeah, I'd only really flirted with punk music, and the only way to kind of see punk videos or stuff like that was to stay up late and watch MTV, because that's when all of kind of that stuff was on the airs late at night now. Headbangers Ball hadn't been on for years at that point. But I remember specifically seeing a commercial for this album. I don't know really how to hint at it without like saying what it is, but I will say they were a hardcore band.
Oh, okay.
And they are from your area.
Oh, okay. And were we talking early 2000s?
Yep.
Okay. Hatebreed.
Yep.
What's up?
Perseverance, man. When I found that record, my life fucking changed.
But dude, Perseverance is a metal record
I know.
with hardcore influence.
It's so good, though.
To
To this day, still one of my favorite records, for sure.
Yeah, and I did 2 records with Jamie.
That's
So
right.
you know I played on Ice Pick, right?
Yes. That's what I was thinking. I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure he told me he did something with Jamie, and I couldn't, like, piece it together in my
Well,
head.
Kingdom of Sorrow was the big one.
Yeah.
And, the Kingdom of Sorrow record had been done 4 years before it even came out.
Mm-hmm.
We never all thought it was going to come out because of contractual stuff that between myself and Metal Blade, Jamie and Roadrunner, and Kirk and whatever Atlantic with Down.
Yeah.
But we were just all like, oh, okay, well, we made a record that we'll all get to. I had not even heard any finished mixes, nothing.
Damn.
Until right before we did our first tour and the record was getting ready to drop. I had to relearn all the songs.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because we wrote that record in real time. Like, Kirk and I just, like, riffed out with Jamie's influence, and I tracked, like, some live drums on a lot of it. Like, that's why there's a, like, real ebb and flow to that record, because there's not clicks on everything.
Yeah.
It's just Kirk and I just riffing out. And, that's got a lot of classic elements of, this. I feel that there's a real Injustice vibe on that record for sure. I gotta be honest, dude. These few records here carried through my entire career.
I can see that.
Yeah, and then just add Pantera, which we won't get into. But I mean, that was I feel that stylistically, I'm most like Vinnie Paul,
Well, I know when we were touring, you guys were playing Sandblasted Skin.
Oh, we did a few times, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was
great. Just thinking of it the other day that I remember in particular when we played it in Dallas and everybody went crazy.
Yes. That was insane.
Yeah, because we hadn't really played it that much. But I remember being in Texas saying, hey, if we're going to play it, we're going to play it here.
Yeah, no better place to do it.
Yeah, and everybody just went insane because we were a little worried due to the fact that was a deep cut.
Mm-hmm.
But a damn good one. Goddamn. Son of a goddamn bitch. You know the kid, well, I'm the kid.
Guys, I would like to welcome Phil and Selmo to the podcast.
Hey, I'm so happy. Oh, goddamn. Shit. I'm the kid. You know what? Flaxseed oil. It's good for the joints. Shit. I have so many connections with Phil. I have so many crazy stories. But I just have to tell you one because it's a fast one. Because I have some that develop and that are insane. But this is one of the newest ones I heard. Randy, Lamb of God, Randy Blythe. my good friend Randy, told me a story recently. He said, "Dude, I'm over in Manila, and we're doing a festival, and I'm tired beyond belief, and I'm in this hotel airport just waiting for a plane, and all these bands are coming in for a festival, and Superjoint was playing."
Mm-hmm.
So he was laying there, and he kind of had his head tilted back with his eyes closed. And all of a sudden, he feels a kiss on his forehead, and he opens his eyes, and then all he hears is, "Good night, sweet prince." Dude.
Dang, man.
Oh my god.
What a character.
Oh, you don't even know. I'll have to tell some
I
stories
don't.
some other
Yeah,
time.
man. I would love that.
Yeah. But anyway, I digress. Back to the test.
No, it's cool. We'll definitely have to do a podcast with you just telling stories because, like I said, that was like my favorite part of having you. Was like you have some great stories.
Thanks, man. I do. I've been associated with so many different people within the music industry. Like, to look and see that I played with Striper, and then and then guys from Down and Unearth, and then Seemless being my baby project, and Shadows Fall, and then think about everyone that all those guys know.
Yeah.
That I was then introduced to. Never mind the things that I was one of those rare breed on the road that said, all right, if I'm in Copenhagen tonight, well, I'm going to go experience Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get lost I would challenge myself to get lost amongst the, general population wherever I was, so that I could come back home knowing that I was richer with experience than when I left. So I was the one that would vanish quite often and then come back, and I always had a story. And the guys would always just shake their head and go, "What the fuck, man? How does he do this?" But that was one of the driving forces and what kept me going as long as it did,
Yeah, no, I get it. I tried to do that as much as I could, but
Well, you were part of the working,
True, but I still had downtime.
Yeah. It's good that I'm sure you're stoked that you did whatever you did.
Yeah, big time.
But
I
you had to be there a little earlier. You had to be there a little later,
Yeah, but even then, when I wanted to go do something, I was always too afraid to go by myself, and I couldn't get anybody else to go with me to do stuff half the time.
Yeah.
So it's every now and then I would go walk off by myself, but I wouldn't. Yeah.
That's when I started bringing a bike.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'd bike around wherever I was, and that ended up being an awesome. Because I just got a cruiser, a 24-inch. Whoa, you all right there, buddy?
Yep, my bad.
I got a 24-inch BMX cruiser, so it was a little bit bigger than your average BMX, but small enough to put in the bay of a bus,
Mm-hmm.
And it got me around where I needed to go. And it created some stories. So, yes, we will have to do that sometime.
Yeah. So, practice what you preach. Is that...
Yeah, are you a Testament fan at all?
That's one band I never really got into, to be honest.
Really? Yeah, that's okay. I get it.
I did listen...
more dated sounded, maybe.
I did listen to this album, and I'd never heard it before, to be perfectly honest.
Okay. What do you think?
I did like it. I did like it a lot.
Production-wise, you probably were feeling a little dated vibe, right?
I think because I do listen to stuff from that era quite a bit, it doesn't bother me as much.
Doesn't bother you as much? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool then.
The only thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and maybe I'm in the minority on this, but I did feel like vocally, he's very similar to Dave Mustaine at points. Not throughout the whole thing, but at points. And that was my only point of reference of oh, okay. Vocally. The playing, everything else is so different. But yeah.
The only thing that bums me out with listening to it now is that it's a little thin sounding. I feel like it could have been fatter. If they went back and remixed that. No, it has its charm. and I love the album. The guitar playing that Alex did on that record and his solos were just so heartfelt. And
Yeah.
it was the first time that a guitar player stuck out to me as a drummer, with the exception of like Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin, and understanding that. This is the first time that somebody in the metal realm really made their mark on me, in terms of the soulfulness and what they did.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, besides And Justice for all the albums, I had already, also heard the Anthrax album, but it had been a long time, but I thoroughly enjoyed, like, listening to all the albums that you wanted to do.
Awesome, dude.
Especially, actually, if you want, that can segue to the next album, because I was very, very fucking surprised by this album. The 24/7 Spies.
Wait, you listened to that record?
Yeah.
No
I
way.
I listen to everything we do, especially if I haven't heard it before or haven't heard it in a long time. I want it to be fresh in my memory so I can kind of talk about it.
Oh my god, I am so psyched. Yes, 24/7 Spies.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about something if I haven't heard it. I feel like that doesn't give me any right to talk about it,
That's awesome, dude. I will. In a way, I'm going to say thank you because I appreciate the fact that you gave this a shot, because this was something so underground.
I was very thrown off by the album cover. I was like, what is this? But no, I swear, I was like, whatever, I'm gonna listen to it. Like, I'll see.
And then you heard,
dude, yeah. I threw it on. And I was like, holy fuck, this is actually not bad at all. I enjoyed it.
And let me tell you, the main and it sucks that this is the reason why they got a lot of attention, but they were the first like African American full band of African Americans. Yeah. That Living Colour had come out, but they were still like rock.
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely a bit of a difference between Living Colour and this.
Yeah, and this had a punk rock vibe. This had a everything vibe.
It's all over the place, but in like the best way. It was cool as fuck.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, so what happened with these guys is that a bunch of us discovered them. Well, I discovered them, actually, and then I got a bunch of my metal friends into them, and then we would go see them everywhere when they were around town, and we ended up, they were one of those bands that would only draw like 100 people, 150 people a show, and we ended up befriending the bass player and guitar player to where, like, I had their phone numbers and everything, and
nice.
We would hang out, and it was like kind of like, but they were still otherworldly presence to us. Like, they were on a legit label from New York, and they were doing. We thought they were. Well, no, they were a legit band, but they just never broke, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading that they basically did a whole tour with Jane's Addiction on like one of their biggest albums.
Yeah, and it was great for them.
Yeah,
but they lost a lot of money on that tour. Because they didn't, they were just so wildly different for Jane's people that were, like, the modern, I mean, they were Jane's Addiction fans back in this era, on Ritual. I was a big Jane's fan.
Yeah.
But Jane's fans were the new alternative, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, that was the other thing I was noticing, not to cut you off, but, like, when this album came out, like, 1990, 91, that's when things are, like, metal's kind of not dying out completely, but it's changing enough to where it's like, I can see how a band like this kind of struggled to gain any momentum.
They got lost in the shuffle too, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And throw in the race card, which was definitely a relevant one.
Yeah. And
the fact that they had some pretty not so, like, easy on the palate ideas going. But, like, John Conley Theory, that first song, that the real heavy one that opens the record.
Oh, yeah.
So John Connolly was the guitar player and singer of Nuclear Assault.
Uh-huh.
And he was 24/7 Spies guitar tech. And he would sound check with that riff. So they wrote that for him as a joke.
Oh, dude, that's great.
Isn't that a great story?
I would have never known that, because, like, it was honestly really hard to find anything about this album or the band itself. Like,
yes, they're an anomaly, dude. And they ended up having This was their classic lineup, which if they got back together, it would never happen. It's like so long now.
Yeah.
And the P Fluid, the singer P Fluid.
E-fluid.
Yeah, I could not even imagine he could pull off any of this stuff anymore. But I know that Jimmy and Rick, the bass player and guitar player, still tour to this day, but they do everything themselves as a three-piece, and they just have a drummer, and Jimmy sings everything. But they had about 1, 2, 3, 4 different lineup changes, and it just got to a point that even us as fans, it just felt like, okay, like this is too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's only so much you can follow before you say to yourself, well, this band obviously has an issue or just can't hold themselves together. And then you just keep going back to this record I still listen to this day.
Nice. Yeah, I recommended Matt listen to it too, and I don't know what his opinions on it were. I'm going to ask him later.
Yeah,
But,
I'm curious.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised, man, because I didn't know what to expect, just kind of based on the album cover, and yeah, it was good, man. I liked it.
Awesome, man. I'm glad. There's a lot of cool stuff. My favorite song on that record is "Heaven and Hell," because it starts off so like, and it goes into this like beautiful like soul song, and then back to a metal song.
Yeah.
It was just like holy shit. So they were a culmination of like all this stuff that my friends and I all loved, all together in one. So it was like metal. It was Living Color because I was a big Living Color fan. All my friends were Living Color fans. It was metal, Living Color, a little bit of hip hop, soul, a little jazziness or like bluesiness in the guitar playing, and then just so much influence from so many different places, and that was something that we all tried to do was grab from so many different influences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were talking about that a couple episodes with The Clash, because one of their records, like, it was a little bit of punk, a little bit of reggae, a little bit of, kind of soul, and it's like, for a punk band to do that at that time, it was
The
kind of
Clash
unheard
to
of.
me, just off the record. I mean, off the subject.
Yeah.
But the Clash were the ultimate punk rock band to me.
Yeah, I love The Clash so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, me too, man. Because they encompass so many different. Same thing. And did you see that the Clash documentary that just came out a couple? Oh my
Oh, wait, a
God!
new one came out?
It was just a couple of years ago. Clash. No, wait. Clash on No. Oh my
I
God.
saw the one about Joe Strummer.
No, History of the Clash.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
Oh my God.
I'll check that
I
out.
didn't realize the amount of shit they went through, and then how Strummer had like went looking for Mick Jones like when he was on vacation because he had left the band, and
Yeah.
he was on vacation in like the Bahamas somewhere, and he went and like trying to find him to say, hey, we got to get the band back together. And there's some crazy stuff that went down with that band, bro.
Yeah, and they get a little bit overlooked, I feel like, sometimes too. Even though they're like, big, quote unquote. But
Yeah, they were bigger than you think, man. They were,
yeah,
and they're just so like notorious, and they were part of an era. But when it was done, it was catastrophic for them,
yeah. I read about that kind of final album that, quote unquote, happened / didn't happen /
Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, you have to see that documentary. It was one of the best. I'm a huge music documentary buff.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many, and it's definitely up in my top.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I'll have to find it and watch it, because I adore The Clash so much.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, these are, it's been awesome even just like going back and actually, sending you this list alone, like thinking about how I got into metal, even just had me so kind of feeling nostalgic for those days and just how exciting it was to be part of all this stuff that still is classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I'm really glad that it kind of took you back to that a little bit, and you could kind of reminisce and think about what it meant to you, because that is exactly like why I wanted you to talk about what influenced you in some way or another, because it's cool to remember that stuff, you know? Because for me,
Yeah,
I don't
dude.
have a point of reference for it. For you, it's much more
Well,
in
you
your
can
day
live
than mine.
vicariously through my points of reference.
Yeah, yeah, big time.
But yeah, these were the big ones, and I actually put those two Anthrax releases together and just say that like the
It makes
four,
sense.
yeah. And 24/7 Spies was something that was just so different that but was so influential to me at the time that I had to bring it up.
It was
Um,
cool though, because
there's some metal in there.
yeah, that's kind of one thing that I wanted to like discover with doing this too, is to find those bands that like got left to the wayside that nobody really heard about, or did one thing and then that was it. And that was exactly like the kind of thing I was like super fucking stoked for, because I was like, holy shit, this is like something I've never heard of, and it's actually pretty cool for somebody to check out that's also never heard of it.
That's awesome, man. I'll tell you something else too. They fell victim to a label called In Effect Records that was part of Earache. So it was a sublet of Earache, and there were only two, maybe three bands on that label.
Damn.
In Effect, and I don't know if you've heard of Scatterbrain. Do you know those guys?
No.
Kind of falls into like if the two of them would have toured together, you would have understood why.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever hear that song from back in the day called "Don't Call Me Dude"?
I don't think so.
No, I almost put Scatterbrain on here, and you would have definitely been like, "What? This is some weird shit." But they had a song called "Don't Call Me Dude."
Okay.
Literally, that's the name of the song. And it's all about this guy being pissed off because like his ex-girlfriend's with a new guy, and he keeps calling him dude, and he doesn't want him to.
Oh shit.
It is just so bizarro, like half comedic, but like musically, the band was just awesome, and they were from New York. Now, were from New York, and there was one other band. I want to say it was this band called Cyclone Temple,
Mm-hmm.
who, if you heard, you would definitely be like, "Oh my God, this is heavier than anything. It's heavier than you expect to hear
Okay.
from that era." But they kind of fell into the line of like Prong or something like that.
Yeah.
You ever hear Prong?
Yeah, I definitely know those guys.
Yeah, the early '90s kind of weird, bizarro groove metal, you know.
Yep.
Um, and but those three, 24/7 Spies, Scatterbrain, and I believe Cyclone Temple were all on In Effect Records, which was a sublet of Earache
Mm-hmm.
and Relativity, and they ended up getting swallowed up, and just kind of all the bands lost their funding, and In Effect just didn't work out.
Damn, that
So
sucks. So
they
they had like a
definitely
bunch of stuff working against them.
they did. I just feel like they never. They just kept pushing, and they were almost on the brink. They got on a Budweiser commercial at one point.
Damn.
Spies did, and they recorded with Terry Date, and they were signed. They upstreamed to a major. They were on Epic, I believe, and still never broke through. It was like everything just stacked against them, stacked against them, stacked against them. And
That's
to have,
crazy.
yeah, and to have like seen these guys so many times live and befriended them and them know us to this day, where like I actually sent Jimmy a message about this, like, hey dude, I'm doing this history heavy metal podcast with a friend of mine, and you got Gumbo Millennium's on there, and he wrote back like, no way, that's so awesome.
Dude, if he ever wants to come on and talk about it, I am more than down to have him.
Oh, that would be awesome. I'll have to run it
Yeah.
by, because he could tell you. I bet he could. So here's what would be great about somebody like him.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the business at this time when, I'm just going by being a fan at that time.
Yeah.
So he'd be able to like give you specs on budgets. It's cool stuff that like I'd be dying to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
For a
That's
band
kind
at
of
their
stuff that
level.
I try to look up because it's really interesting to me, that side of it.
Well, especially for like something classic, because it's totally different than now.
Yeah. No, I know.
Because everybody
That's why,
goes,
like,
shift it around, fix it, it's done. Okay, let's just put it
yeah,
out. That's all that matters. Back
yeah,
then, they had to fucking play,
yeah. Reading about
and
like
that took time.
Black Sabbath's budget that they all spent on cocaine, and it was like $200,000.
What?
Yeah.
What era was that?
Uh, either man, I forget. It was either Volume 4 or Technical Ecstasy or Sabotage, one
Oh
of
my
those.
god.
Yeah.
Yeah, and never mind the fact that the first Sabbath record only cost $900. Was
Yeah.
like recorded in a day.
Yeah. Could
Think
you
about the
imagine
amount
having
of money.
200,000 to record?
That's insane.
Dude. Yeah. All on cocaine.
Well, I can tell you this. I'll start ending the conversation, but I'll tell you a quick tidbit of information that I got from Michael Sweet from Stryper last time I recorded with him. I was asking him about their couple of classic records that were their biggest, that sold millions of copies,
Mhm.
And In God We Trust was, well, To Hell with the Devil was their biggest record. No, In God We Trust, I think, was their biggest selling. To Hell with the Devil is fans' favorite. But I never knew, and I asked him for the first time. I was like, I'm dying to know, what did you guys spend to make In God We Trust? And he's like, well, we stayed in some places we shouldn't have stayed. We spent a lot of extra money outside of recording that got tagged on, but it was over $600,000. But that was in 87, 88 when those, when labels were selling millions of copies of millions of records and generating millions and millions of dollars that they don't anymore.
That's crazy. Like
But
over $500,000.
I couldn't believe that I was friends with someone that spent over $500,000 on a record.
Yeah. And I mean, no diss, but I'm sure it doesn't sound like $500,000, right? Or does it?
No comment.
Okay.
I don't think
Fair
any
enough.
record sounds like $500,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No record is ever going to sound like that much money.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
But just imagine like labels having that much money back in the day to just throw around.
Yeah, that's impossible nowadays.
And I don't even think Adele spends that.
Nope. Maybe.
And maybe she does.
Yeah,
No.
I guess it depends.
I don't know. It depends how much the songwriters for someone like that cost.
Yeah.
Because that's where the money really comes into play with that. But just I don't know any like. I couldn't tell you a band that would spend that much money, but he was just like, yeah, it was a little over 600,000. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what? But it sold like, I think it was close to 2 million copies.
Yeah, that band's really interesting to me because they were like one of the first bands to play the Christian angle. Or, I mean, I don't know really much about them, but I'm sure that they are.
Oh, he is full blown Christian.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
He doesn't swear,
really unheard
nothing.
of. First Christian metal band.
Yeah.
Most successful, I would assume, too.
I think they were the most successful for sure in terms of the grand scope of everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they still play to this day, and
Yeah, I see that every now and then. I'm like, holy
they
fuck,
do pretty
dude.
well. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
shit,
they do
man.
House of Blues, and they'll sell out a House of Blues tour.
I feel like I've learned more than what we were talking about today, which is great.
Yeah, dude. Leave it to me, man.
Yeah. I feel like I'm keeping you up, too, because it's already like midnight where you're at. And
Yeah, it's 12:30, so we should probably wrap it up.
yeah. Well, Derek, thank you for fucking doing this, man. I definitely want to have you on again to do like stories and whatever else. Maybe just not even talk about records for an episode. Just do like a Derek cast.
You are welcome, man. You are so welcome, and I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, it's been good. This was a good one. I'm
Yeah,
stoked
a
to
lot
put
of
this
fun.
out.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
And feel free to edit whatever the hell you need to, because we did get a little crazy.
We
on
did,
it.
we did.
So.
We'll see where it's at. I mean, I might edit it down a little bit, but I think it'll be all right.
All right, awesome, man.
Cool.
Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes!